I just want to take the opportunity to tell you all that the Department of Planning is finished with the census work of getting everyone to respond, and now the other work will happen very shortly for redistricting. Let me make a couple comments there. First of all, for everybody in the communities that had anything to do with helping to get that response rate up for Maryland, I thank you very much. 21 counties and 91 municipalities met or exceeded their 2010 census response rate, that self-response rate. 71.2% put us 9th in the country. We had 4 of our counties within the top 100 in the 3,215 counties in the country. So Carroll, Howard, Hartford, and Frederick all in that top 100, with Carroll at number 24. Thank you for every agency and everybody in each one of those counties that had anything to do with getting out that response. It was a tremendous effort and much appreciated. Being in the top 10 in the country was a goal that we set at planning, and we were able to achieve that because we had great partnerships. Most people are asking me now about the next phase, which is redistricting. It depends upon when the numbers are provided by the United States Census Bureau. The new census geographies will be due to us very soon. So the fact that some census blocks have changed because more people here or less people there, those new census geographies will be coming to us. The new numbers will be coming to the states also. They will be coming to the states by law. They're supposed to be coming to the states by April the 1st. The numbers going to the president from the US Census Bureau are supposed to go by December 31st. We've had a big giant call with the US Census Bureau, and they were explaining to us that from 10 years ago, they now have much more computing power, and they're running shifts. Instead of 8-hour shifts, they're running 24-hour shifts to process the post-enumeration processing phase. So they are telling us that they may be on track to be very close to the deadlines that are set in statute. So I know there are counties out there that will be doing their own redistricting, and they are in their own codes required to do redistricting and set up commissions or committees to do that. And they will be doing that starting in January in some places. So we will get the numbers to anybody who needs the numbers as soon as we have the numbers. But you need to remember another thing about Maryland. Maryland is one of only 9 states that does reallocations of prisoners to their last known address prior to incarceration. That process will happen in the Department of Planning, and we will all be working off the same numbers that are adjusted numbers. So numbers come from the US Census Bureau to planning then adjusts for prisoners, and then we will make sure those numbers go out as soon as they're available to us. So there's 2 pieces of the process that have to happen in this post-enumeration process that are directly affecting what your communities are going to look like. So the councilmatic and the commissioner districts, they'll all be determined based on the numbers that you will receive from us in planning. Now the census will also feed into how we do projections. We do population projections all the time. The State Data Center does a very good job with population projections. School enrollment projections, they'll continue to come out as we do every year. What your community is going to look like is going to be based on the quality of that census response and how we can do our projections. So through all that has been done to make sure we have a great count, again, I'm eternally grateful. I'm glad that you're here participating in the Planning Commissioners Association conference. I'm glad we're still be able to do something that's meaningful, even though it's in a virtual environment. Please know that we're busy at planning, working on our military planner to make sure that we can support the military installations throughout the state. We are working on models and guidelines to make our information available to everyone. And the virtual programs, we've got top level speakers on topics of the day, and we've had tremendous attendance for that. So if you're interested in something that planning has, please join. We're trying to make all of our resources available online. So I really do appreciate the time to just address you. And if you remember nothing else, the fact that we're in the top 10 in the country for census response is due to every level of government throughout this state participating with nonprofits, the faith community, the business community, everyone pulling together to make sure we're counted. So that's the best way that we can shape the future for each of our we say shape the future when we did the census, but you are shaping the future as planning commissioners in a way that's very, very personal, in a way that's practical, in a way that makes sense for your community. I congratulate you for your efforts and your efforts to learn how to do that job better. So thank you very much for all that you do to make your communities what you want them to be. Thank you very much for the time. Appreciate the time to address you.
Thank you so much, Secretary McCord. We really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to offer us some words. So thank you so much. We know you're very busy. So we want to initiate our annual meeting. I'm going to kick it off, and then after I'm done, I'm going to turn it over to our Secretary, MPCA Secretary, Ms. Roxanne Hemphill. So what I wanted to do was spend a few minutes talking about our the activities and our major accomplishments for the year 2020. You know, this has been a struggling year for all of us, a very stressful year with the pandemic and everything, and everyone having to spend a lot of time at home and shift the way that we do our business. But the one thing that I'm very proud of is that the MPCA executive board and our liaisons with the Maryland Department of Planning have continued to have things done and make accomplishments and keep things moving. So I'm very grateful for that. Of course, one of the things that we do is we meet on a quarterly basis. If you could, thank you so much for putting up our accomplishments. We meet on a quarterly basis, and to conduct our business. But one thing we implemented this year is to also have a monthly conference call so that we can keep things moving. We don't wait till the next quarter to work on projects, or we have action items and we can follow up on a monthly basis to make sure that we keep things moving. So I'm very appreciative of that, and I'm very appreciative that the board and our liaisons have been very proactive so that we can keep things moving. And if we have something that we need to get completed, we can go ahead and do that. One other great thing that we did this year was we became members of the Mid-Atlantic Planning Collaboration, and that's in conjunction with some people at the University of West Virginia, the Law Center, and we have individuals in that collaboration from around the region, and it's been very, very productive. They are scheduling some workshops and seminars, and I urge you to reach out and look at that. And I think what we're going to do is, I'm not sure if we don't have it. I believe we do, but if we don't, we'll put a link on the Maryland Department of Planning website so we can talk. You can see what is coming up with some of those seminars that the collaboration is working on. Even it started this week and it will continue over the next several weeks. So that's a very, very productive thing that we're doing, and the collaboration has been very positive. Another thing that we did was we looked at our bylaws. They hadn't been looked at since 2009, and we wanted to look at them and make sure that they meet the needs of the organization now and meet the needs of what's going on throughout Maryland. So later on, we'll be talking about that. I'll give you a little brief summary of our bylaws and what we've done. And those of you who are MPCA members have gotten an email from our secretary, Ms. Hemphill, and she has listed out some of the changes to the proposed changes to the bylaws, and then we will be having an opportunity for you all to approve those bylaws sometime in December. We'll talk about that a little later. We've had a couple of regional workshops. We had one on the Eastern Shore, and we hosted it at Salisbury University. It was very well attended. They gave us a nice big room, and the room was pretty full. So we're very excited about the work that happened there and the information that we were able to share locally, or well, on the Eastern Shore for that time. That was back in February. So we're really appreciative of that. We also had a planning commissioners training course that we presented in July, and that was pretty well attended. And we're going to continue to do those kinds of things into 2021. And the other thing that we did, which was super, was we had a Strong Towns webinar. That was something that was brought to us by our Vice President, Mr. Bill Butts, and he was very enthusiastic about it, and he got us to become enthusiastic about it. And it was an excellent presentation. I believe that we recorded it, and it may be available on the Maryland Department of Planning website. Joe, please correct me if I'm wrong. But the presentation was excellent, and it gave us some great ideas as to what we can do going forward. So I was very happy that Bill presented that to us and that we agreed and we moved forward with that. So those are some of the major highlights that we're working on, and we have more things to come in 2021, and we'll talk about those later on. So at this point, I'd like to turn this over to our secretary, Ms. Roxanne Hemphill, so she can continue to conduct our annual meeting.
Thank you, Danny. The first thing I want to do is, you see that we have the the board minutes from the last meeting, the annual meeting. What I'd like to do is, first off, little Robert's Rules of Order thing. I'm assuming, Danny, that you did call the meeting to order. So the official business meeting is in order. So the first order of business is to ask for a motion to approve the minutes. As far as I know, there are no additions or corrections to those minutes. Sarah, do you have those minutes to put up? I thought I sent them to you, but maybe not. There they are. They're just brief minutes. I think those are my board minute meetings, which are not the ones that I needed. I needed the annual meeting minutes, but okay, she's gonna run through them here in a minute. But when you do see them, I'm going to ask her to there we go. No, that's still board meetings. I'm going to ask her to, or I'm going to ask for a motion that we approve the minutes, and you can do that in the chat. There's a treasurer's report, which we'll have next. If not, I can, oh, I do have a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second? Anyone, please type in the chat that they have seconded the minutes. I'd appreciate it. Okay, I do have a second. It was seconded by Bill Butts. He is one of our one of the members of the MPCA. So it's been moved and seconded that we approve the meeting minutes. I don't think we have a slide here for all those in favor. I'm assuming that no one is in objection to the minutes, so we're just going to go ahead and say that they have been approved. The next thing, also, we did have a copy of an agenda that was to be up, but the next thing that happens is I'm going to give the camera or the meeting over to our treasurer, Doug Wright, who will give you the treasurer's report.
Doug, you're muted. John, I don't know if you need to unmute him or. Well, why don't we try to come back to Doug? We can, Danny, would you like to, oh, wait, actually, next thing on the agenda is election of officers.
Next thing I need is we sent out an email from the MPCA about anyone who had nominations from the floor. We received no nominations from the floor. At this time, I'm going to ask that, should have asked this first, the nominations be open. I need a motion and a second. I know this is kind of hard because we're virtual. I don't know how many of you all, I also am a planning commissioner chairperson, so struggles with the virtual meetings, our monthly meetings are kind of hectic. Okay, we do have Sharon Suarez has moved that we open the nominations. Is there a second to that? John Bauer has seconded, so we do have the nominations open. Seeing that there are no nominations from the floor, the MPCA has put together a slate of officers. And here are the following. Here is the following slate: the president, Danny Winborn; vice president, Bill Butts; treasurer, Doug Wright; secretary, Roxanne Hemphill. I'm just going to ask real quickly if anyone right now has any nominations from the floor. Seeing none, I'm going to officially close the nominations and ask that we have a election for the nomination of officers. Sharon Suarez has moved to accept the slate of officers, which is awesome. So I will then ask for a second. Second by Gregory K. I can't see the rest of it. So I'm going to ask for us to, by our, thank you. We're going to do this by acclamation. So the question, the poll is, do you accept this slate of MPCA officers for 2021? Please select yes or no. And we're waiting. Awesome. Well, congratulations to those, myself and the other slate of officers. You now have your board of directors for 2021. We also ask if anyone is interested in becoming a member of the board. There are only, like Danny said, quarterly board meetings as well as monthly conference calls. We welcome more of you to come in to have our business of the planners, our citizen planners heard and discussed. And we would welcome any of you who would like to join us. Just let us know. At this point in time, my portion of the business meeting is concluded. And I will hand this over to Danny.
Thank you, Roxanne. And I tried to hit the no button, but it wouldn't work for me. So I guess I'm president again, but I'm just making a joke. But I really take this very seriously, and I'm honored to be asked to be president again. We really have some good work that we're doing here, some important work here for Maryland. I think Maryland has one of the best planning organizations in the country. And as Roxanne just said, and I'm glad that she mentioned that because I neglected to mention it, that we're citizen planners and we have a seat at the table. We can affect planning in the state of Maryland, which is an excellent opportunity for all of us. And I appreciate every single one of you all who is here and who conducts important work in your on your planning boards, your planning commissions, or your boards of appeals, and also our partners in the various departments of planning organizations, planning and code organizations throughout the state of Maryland. So I'm very appreciative of that, and I'm very humbled to be asked to serve again. I did want to talk about the bylaws update just briefly before we close out, and then as I said, the bylaws had not been updated since 2009. We started to do that a couple of years ago, and then we got back to it this year, and we took a real deep dive into the bylaws, and we wanted to make sure that there was an internal consistency with the bylaws, that they were up to date, that they were relevant for today's times. We wanted to make sure that it reflected current processes, and that we also were very specific about the election timing and the election process for our organization. We also wanted to make sure that we clarified the roles of the board and of the executive committee. There was a distinction. So what we're asking you to do, and if you're an MPCA member, our secretary, Ms. Hemphill, sent you a summary of the changes, and I believe she sent a copy of the actual bylaws for you to review. And then there will be a digital meeting held on December 11th at 2 p.m. And we invite you to just join with us so we can adopt the bylaws. It won't be a very long meeting. We know everybody's super busy and super zoomed out, but we ask you to join us as we adopt our bylaws. So I'm going to turn it back over to Roxanne so she can further conduct our meeting, and then we can move forward. Roxanne?
Okay. Next on the agenda is we started an initiative last year of recognizing local planners. And we did ask for nominations for those, and we do have some of those. So actually, I'm going to turn this back over to Joe and Danny to work on to present the recognitions.
Thank you, Roxanne, and thanks to everybody as there's a lot of moving parts in this annual meeting, a lot of different cameras, a lot of things, so we'll try to get through it, but we appreciate your patience. So a key initiative of the MPCA strategic plan, which we presented and approved at the 2018 conference, is recognizing the great work of Maryland citizen planners. We did this for the first time at last year's annual conference in Aberdeen, and I hope many of you were able to join us there. I personally think it was the best part of the conference. I think a lot of these folks had never quite been recognized like that before, and it was really great for us to see everybody involved in a project, everybody involved in an excellent work that you do. This year we can't meet in person, obviously, so this presented unique logistical problems for the recognition ceremony. However, we did send out some requests for video submissions or other submissions maybe about a month ago, and we did receive a few, and we're happy to share them with you now. The term citizen planner goes beyond official planning boards, as you all know, although those are vital organizations for community development and planning in Maryland. To include individuals and groups throughout the state dedicated to enhancing quality of life in our communities. So we have 4 recognitions today, a couple of videos as well that with the assistance of my colleague John Coleman will be showing you. So the first one Amy Landsman of the Fire Museum of Maryland noted the MPCA's call for citizen planner recognition submissions with great interest. Although the museum is not a planning commission, the staff and volunteers at the Fire Museum of Maryland in Lutherville submitted a video for recognition in the area of historic preservation. The museum acquired a one-of-a-kind 1913 fire engine that is now on display here in Maryland, which was a huge accomplishment, and they wanted to share their achievement with the MPCA membership. So now I'll turn it over to John to show that video.
We are so honored to have this here in our collection. And it represented a very early experimental theories about how to get a gasoline engine to pump water. And they were making the transition from horses and steam engines to gasoline.
We sent a very excited email to me with hours, I think, after we put out the request for recognition. So that's great. The next one, Matthew Fitzsimmons, Senior Associate with Horde Copland Mock, submitted a recognition for the Johnston Square Vision Plan in Baltimore. Organization Rebuild Johnston Square developed and nurtured strong community partnerships to craft the vision plan. But I will let Regina Hammond, President of Rebuild Johnston Square, and one of this year's Sustainable Growth Award winners, tell the story far better than I can.
I saw an ad for a new townhome development being built in Johnston Square, and I thought it was a good opportunity to purchase a home. After we moved in, we started noticing more and more houses becoming vacant. Recreation centers were closing down. Partnerships were key in everything we have done. Through various partners that I've had the honor and the privilege of meeting throughout the years, they have helped us, taught us, guided us through this transformation. And we actually hosted listening sessions with the community. Anyone who was interested in making positive changes in Johnston Square was welcome to attend these listening sessions. And from those sessions, we put together that vision plan, and it was based on what the community said they would like to see in their community, be it the recreation, be it supermarkets, just green spaces that were beautiful and welcoming. So that's basically, and the architects use their expertise just to pull all those thoughts and ideas together into a plan. But Johnston Square is going to be a destination. People are, one, going to want to live here instead of have to live here. We have beautiful parks here. We have 2 really nice parks that people can come, walk, relax, have recreation. So those things right now, they're starting to happen, but there was a time where none of those things were a reality for us. But in the future, with the playing field and the green space down at St. Francis, it's going to be a great place to be.
Bill Johnson Square organization, and congratulations again to her for winning one of this year's Sustainable Growth Awards. The next submission comes from Don Mulring, great friend of the MPCA. I think attends every single conference, at least the ones that I've been going to. He's the town administrator for Denton and Caroline County. It's not a video, but he submitted a recognition for the town's Historic and Architectural Review Commission for the members' extended volunteer service to the Denton community. The town of Denton's Historic and Architectural Review Commission was formed in 2002. And currently the commission members include Kathy Mackle, 17 years of service since 2004. Richard Peterson, 16 years of service since 2005. Keith Bobick, 11 years since 2010. Teresa Goss, 7 years since 2014. Mark Lacoste, 1 year, 2019. And Kathy Mackle, who's been there for 17 years, has served as the chairperson for 16 of those years since 2005. So this commission meets when property improvement applications are submitted for properties located within Denton's historic district. These members provide a wealth of knowledge and expertise due to their longevity in serving on the commission. Each member takes great care in the application process when evaluating the material prior to the selected meeting, which includes a site visit of the property. Denton's commission members take great pride in working with all the applicants and provide timely feedback and expert advice in restoring the historical integrity of their structures and property. I want to thank Don for the submission and thank the great work of the Historic and Architectural Review Commission. Something that but I'm going to turn it over to here to Danny in a second for a special recognition, but something that the MPCA wants to do even more of are these recognitions. And we don't think that they need to be limited solely to the annual conference each year. So we encourage you, we have the Maryland Department of Planning includes a portion of its monthly newsletter called Planning Practice Monthly for, it's called the MPCA Corner, where we have MPCA updates, news, events. We would love to include more regular recognitions in that MPCA Corner. So please keep that in mind, and we'll be making this, we'll be reminding you all of that. But you have my contact information. You can easily find me if you don't. And we would love to be able to do a more regular job of recognizing the great work of our citizen planners. So thank you to those who submitted recognitions this year in unusual circumstances, not the way we normally do it. And it's unfortunate we can't celebrate with you in person, but we still wanted to do those recognitions. So now I'll turn it over to Danny.
Okay, thank you, Joe. That was excellent. I'm glad that we were able to get some submissions from our citizen planners. But I wanted to do a special recognition because our partners and our theme at our 2018 Planning Commission annual conference was the partnership we have between the professional planners and citizen planners. And we cannot do this without our citizen planners. They're an integral part to what we do. They can't do it without us, and we can't do it without them. So it is a great partnership and collaboration. With that being said, I wanted to recognize a great partner that we've had, and that is Ms. Phyllis Grover, and she is the okay, there she is. We wanted to recognize her 33 years of service and dedication to planning, development, transportation, and economic development in and around the city of Aberdeen. I actually met Ms. Grover a couple years ago when she presented at one of our Planning Commission conferences, and she was just a light. She just brought so much light and energy to the meeting and to our process, and she was just fabulous. And the mere fact that her name Phyllis is my mother's name just kind of was exciting to me too. But that's beside the point. But last year, 2 years ago, when we were starting to plan our annual conference, Phyllis recommended that we do it in Aberdeen, and she stepped up and she did so much to bring the annual conference to the city of Aberdeen last year, and it was an absolutely fabulous annual conference. We had great tours, we had great um, members that came, we had great sponsorships and also participation. One of the highlights was we got to see a gem, a hidden gem in the Aberdeen area, right there in her county there, and it is the Frito-Lay plant. And we did a tour of the Frito-Lay plant. I didn't know it was even there. I don't think any of us knew that it was there, but we got to tour the plant. You know, each of us goes up and down 95, you know, several times a year, whatever, and we never knew it was there. So she was able to arrange a tour there, and we just had an excellent time. But Phyllis stepped up, and she made our annual conference successful. But she's always reached out and she's always been participatory. I hope she's on the call. I'm not sure if she is. I mean, on our conference now. If we can we bring her up? I'm not sure if she's there. I would like for her, if she can, to just say one or two words. John, do you see Phyllis there as a participant? I'm not sure we can bring her up, but anyway, I did want to spotlight her and give her special recognition for her support and her dedication to the discipline of planning and economic development over 33 years. She started out with the city of Aberdeen in 1987, and she's been there ever since, and she's worked her way up to the position that she holds now. But more importantly, she's a real friend to us.
Hey,
Yes?
Danny, I sent her
Yeah.
an unmute request, but she hasn't responded yet.
Oh, okay, okay. So I'm not sure. She might be busy doing some other things, but I did want to offer this special recognition to Miss Grover. She's just been a gem to us and just a bright spot in the whole planning process. And I'm telling you, the city of Aberdeen is very lucky to have her, and the state of Maryland is even luckier to have her as well. So I know we need to move on, but I did want to recognize her, and hopefully, you know, we can reach out and you know, present this to her later on. So with that being said, let's move on. And I think the next person that we are going to have is our Vice President Bill Butts and Joe talk about.
Danny, we're going to try Doug again with the treasurer's report. But you were right. Originally, it was supposed to. We'll come back to Bill and myself after that.
I hope you can hear me now. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Loud and
yes,
clear.
we hear you.
Oh,
Nice.
hallelujah.
All right.
Hallelujah. Well, thank you very much. It's glad to be here, glad to be heard. You have in front of you the Treasury Support, and it accounts for all income and expenses since our last annual meeting. And you can see at the bottom, hopefully, that we now have $23,573.11 in our holding, our banks, and in our PayPal account. It represents a $7,703.24 income and $4,641.75 in expenses. I think you'll be hearing off and on, hopefully in the near future, of some ways that we can use these funds to further our objectives towards our goals and our objectives. On the little thing on the right is an accounting showing that we're balanced to the bank. I hope there are, if there are any questions, I hope I can answer them at some point. Otherwise, I submit this for audit.
Okay.
Don't see any questions.
Nope.
I think you're good, Bill. The initiatives are on the screen.
Okay, we ready? All right, we wanted to give you a little heads up in terms of 2021 projected initiatives. Danny shared with you some of our accomplishments this past year. Really, this all started for us in 2018 when we did an outreach project with the objective of reaching out to as many citizen planners, local planning groups as we could, and identify what would help you do your jobs better and your responsibilities better. What else could you use? What could the MPCA do in order to help better prepare you, to give you resources and the backup that you need? We got tremendous feedback, in-depth recommendations and requests. And we said to ourselves as a MPCA board, this deserves a strategic plan. This deserves a focus and a plan to implement and respond to these requests. And that's what we started to do, both in terms of beefing up the annual conference, and then that was 2018 in Gaithersburg. And then the next year, going a step further, even regional workshops and regional opportunities. This was all pre-pandemic, so we realized we're not a huge state, but it is challenging and it is difficult for folks in Western Maryland or folks on the Eastern Shore to necessarily travel a larger distance than they normally would in the course of business. So we tried regional workshops, and sure enough, that worked. Then something called a COVID pandemic came along, and we said, well, you know, the trade-off here is that if you don't have commute time, do have connectivity via the internet, we could put on a virtual workshop, a virtual conference. So let's try to gain some experience in that. And there have been a few bumps along the road. We apologize for some of those bumps today. But my gosh, to have come this far and to be able to have really, I think, one of our largest participating groups ever in terms of an MPA sponsored event, and you didn't have to travel to do that. We're just very appreciative that we've been able to take that step. Going forward into 2020, we want to continue to build on the successes and the progress that we've been able to achieve with your support. Obviously, we don't know how long the pandemic is going to continue to last or when we'll be able to gain a much significant degree of control over it. So our plan, at least as a baseline, is to continue virtual meetings, virtual workshops, as long as is needed. And that also means that we want to continue to keep an ear to the ground and listen and request what help you develop your local capability. What other best practices would you like to know more about? And in that process, we'll try to identify other members of our group that has some experience in that regard. Obviously, we want to continue to share recognition opportunities like we did in Aberdeen last year, like we did today. Joe made the comment, we want that to be whenever you're so moved, whenever you realize here is a group, here's an individual, here's a team that deserves recognition. They're getting it done. We want to make people aware of them. That could happen anytime during the year. We simply request you get in touch with us. We'll work on it, and through and virtual events or in-person events, we'll make sure that happens and they are celebrated deservedly so. As a continuation of continuing to give you feedback on best practices, Now that we're in the pandemic, I mean, think about how much perspective all of us as citizen planners and staff planners, for that matter, we have gained in terms of the importance for having planning resilience, the importance of having sustainable planning, of doing things, developmental communities that are sustainable and will carry forward. One of the perspectives that we gain from the initial connection with Strong Towns was to better understand their perspective in terms of everything that we've done in the name of planning in this country since World War II, in retrospect, hasn't always been in our long-term best interest. And so that group was formed to make us more mindful, to make us think longer term, to think more strategically about our planning and what is truly in the long-term best interest of our communities. We want to continue to pursue that line of thinking. And so I guess we should say we've been enhanced by having this pandemic experience, because it's made us aware of that perspective. We want to build on that. And in terms of another way to identify best practices and to build on what are some strengths of some of our members, what are some needs of other members, we want to develop and implement an MCA sponsor. I want to call on Joe Griffith to share some thoughts on that, because Joe has some experience in working and developing and implementing mentoring programs before. Joe, are you available to share some thoughts?
Sure am. Thank you, Bill.
You bet.
Let me share. This is something that, as Bill mentioned, I do have some experience, not with citizen planners per se, but I'm very interested in developing a mentorship program, and I think it's something that MPCA is going to initiate in 2021. And I see this as having two options to be a mentor. So some of you may be much more interested in, the developing personal and professional relationships with other new citizen planners, where you would, it would be a one-to-many type mentorship, where you would have more than one mentee, but not an overwhelming amount. So you could develop those. Somebody you've been a planning commissioner for a long time, you have a lot of insight, and you can develop, again, those professional and personal relationships with a handful of folks that are really looking for that. That may continue for a long time, or once you feel like everybody is, or that you've got to a point where your mentoring has really paid off, you could move on, however you would like to. There's the mentor-mentee relationship can go any number of different ways. So that's one way we want to do it. So again, we'll be following up with more details about this, trying to recruit some folks to be mentors first. We'll start with the mentors. And then the other option is somebody is willing to put themselves out there, or known as a content expert in a specific topic. We would be able, so say you're really good with variances or comprehensive planning, annexations, Main Street revitalization, even something like rules of procedure, something more process. If you feel like you would have a particular insight or something that you're really interested in, you want to make sure that other planning commissioners, can learn from your experience. That's another way to be a mentor. So it wouldn't have that same personal connection that you would have with the one-to-many style mentorship program, but it would allow you to interact with new and even experienced planning commissioners who never maybe worked in those specific areas, and provide your insight. Because the MPCA will continue to be putting out best practices and trainings and all that, but we think all of you, the membership is just as much of a valued resource to everybody as well. So if that's something you're interested in, either of those two, either the more personal relationship building one, or content expert, you can let me know now, but we will also be following up in the Maryland Department of Planning's newsletter and in other emails to the membership to be recruiting those mentors. So thank you, Bill.
Very good. Thank you.
We go back to Danny now.
Okay, thank you, Bill, and thank you, Joe. That was really, really great. So we're a little ahead of schedule here, which is super. We always love to stay on schedule. And at this time, if there are no objections, I'd like to adjourn the annual meeting. Do we see any objections? Okay, seeing none. So we're going to get ready for our 1 o'clock conference. Seminar. And so I hereby adjourn the annual meeting. Thank you so much for your vote of confidence and putting me back in as your president. Thank you very much, everyone.
And we'll start up the next session at 1 o'clock.